Hey people, I want to apologize for that last video. It appeared like I had combed my hair and cleaned myself up for it, and I never want to put out that impression because I don't give a damn what nobody thinks. In that last video, I showed you that the word God pretty much come from a word that meant go, to poke in the ass to get you going. And I'm going to talk about the Sabbath today because I found some funny writings. Isaiah looked at the Sabbath about the same as I do. People argue whether it means Saturday or Sunday, what day God told them they should go to church. And Sabbath is actually just the name of the symbol. Like you look at the second letter in the alphabet and you call it B. But it has many different pronunciations. But Shavet or Izinta is a much closer, accurate description of the word. And I'm going to show you what Isaiah has to say about it here. A goad is a long pointed stick used to prod animals. And a god, is to want, to desire. If she's a goddess, that's because I want to poke her in the ass. From the Old English, God. And this makes better sense of that word godel. I tell you, it's Arabic for to screw. So a goader is a wanter, and a godel is a want to. But I found this Sabbath comes up 3 times here in the end of Isaiah 58. In line 12 and 13, it comes up twice. And here it's spelt with the LSBT. And they put it in a total different category. But this is, where that letter dwells at. It's Sabbath. And then here, it's from Sabbath. From the Sabbath. And it's a different word number, 7676. This is a total different category they put it in. And it's because it has this point in the B where they say that this pronounces a B now, a short B, instead of a V here. But all these points were just added later. That doesn't matter. And then here it is again with the LSBT, and it should be to Sabbath. The same as here, to Sabbath. But, the Sabbath, the day used to start when the sun went down. So if you went out Saturday night, and you went to church when the sun came up, that's still the Sabbath. That's still Saturday. It doesn't become Sunday until the sun goes down. And so this repairer of the breach, the restorer of the streets to dwell in, who dwells in the streets? That's what you did Saturday night. You went out drinking. And the repair of the breach, this is the goater parts. The goater parts is the ass. When you goading something, you poke it in its ass, the goater parts. And from 7, and the reason I'm reading this is an N, this is an I, and SVINTY, 70. From 70 bottles of it. of it. And from 70 bottles of it. I went out last night and I drank 70 bottles of it. And I was wanting her goater parts, that ass. But then in the AM, the morning, in the AM, what do you got to do? It's backwards. Read that backwards. And that's to turn away. And that's because in the Greek, they replace that with apostrophes, to turn around. Apostrophes to turn around, apo, away. So when that Greek Bible come along, they done changed it up and they fixed it where the day changed at midnight, and so it's a new day, and that's what that turnaround means. But this doesn't mean turn around. This is backwards, and AM, M, and backwards, after this tack, a visit. A visit, Sevums in. The B is read as an N here. In a drag. T and the D mix up. A drag will cause what? A drag will cause what? I drank 70 bottles of beer last night, and the morning come to visit Sevums. In drag will cause what? From the Sabbath your foot doing. You're getting drug. And the drag will cause what? Habit sick. And habit sick has 4 different meanings. Sick, habit, just happen to be habit, and then TSIK. And so sick, is, it means it's short for sick. I was sick from 70 bottles of beer I drank last night. And in Latin, they'll say sick means so, or an exclamation. And that's because they don't want you to know how to read this. But sick means to read it as it's, read it with all its misspellings. It's not misspelled, it's trying to say something. In the morning visit Sevums in drag will cause what? Habit sick by 'em. Could see, QD, COULD, could see of rattles in tongue. That old preacher went to see him rattle his tongue and call the Sabbath a delight. No, I didn't call it delight. I thought he was rattles his tongue. And lift us, LFT, lift us, you make bid. When you make bid, you raise your hand up. I got 50, anybody got 60? And you raise your hand up. Yeah, I got 60, make bid. And raise your hand. And so you make bid, they'll say, and she named him Judah, Jewe. It's just Judah missing the D here. And they say, I named him Judah because of praise. And by could see of rattles in tongue. Lift us, praise, make bid. Lift us, our hands, to make bid. And covet to most what, and covet, and store away. And covet to most what track I commits it. What track is the ways, what track you're on. And that's what you do. You go to church and he tries to get you on the right track. What track I and commits. KMMMITS. And commits it. The vav, aleph, the vav turns into the T. And commits it. And most what track I commits it. And then the A, is reading as the ECH. Each fits, could, bread, bear. That's what they do in the Catholic Church. You go over there and praise and make bid and covet to most what track I commits. And each fix could. Everybody who gets fixed could, bread, bear. You don't get any bread. If you're in the Catholic Church, you don't get any bread unless you made your confession. You got to clean yourself before you get bread. Your own pleasure nor speaking words. And each track I commits it. Each fix could bread bear. You couldn't get the bread unless you've been fixed. And so in the Catholic Church, it doesn't matter what you did last night, because, in the morning, the visits of in draggle cause what habits sick by could see of rattles and tongue, and lift us you make bid, and covet to must what track I commits it. Each fix could bear bread. It don't matter what you did last night, if you confess your sins and make the praise, you could accept the Holy Communion. And so it says in a line, in all this above, this is why I was reading where it was talking about what the symbol of the Icodem means. That's a word my mama used when she would cuss, and I don't even think she knows what it means. I asked her what it means, and she still won't tell me. I don't think she knows. But it's a Latin word, Icodem, for putting forth the middle finger and the rest drawn into a fist, and and flipping somebody off, giving them the fig. And people say it means go fuck yourself, but it actually means fuck you in the ass. The offended digitum sed imputicum. And Euphormio calls it and hiquidem, fuck you in the ass. And so this is the end of this chapter, and I told you, all about the top, that's what it's talking about. And then at the end, that's what he did all Saturday night. And then of Nami Catcher in what holum. In what holum, is the buttholum, the waste places. And of Nami, that's the Greek word for the pantheon of Greek gods, of Nami, of Greek gods, catcher buttholum. A Nami, N-U-M-I, Nami, and that's Italian, and it's plural of a num, literally a god, particularly that of the Greco-Roman mythology. And so it's plural, gods. Of Nami catcher buttholum, in the waste places, in the butthole, and double M, the butthole me used, and it where, and then backwards, and it where, and the double R, this is a I-U-Y, you do, and turd, D is a T, T-U-R-D, a turd, you do turd, fumy, where you raise up, where you fume a turd, the butthole. And of Nami catch her butthole, me used it where you do turd, fumy. And a furl, and shall be called you, and a furl, give them a furl, and a furl, that's when you go to the bathroom and write her number on the wall, and a furl, and called gooder parts. The goater parts, her ass, from 70 bottles of it. After I fed her 70 bottles of beer, she let me hit that ass. From 70 bottles of it. And then come the morning, an a.m., and come the morning, still on the Sabbath day, it was Sabbath last night when you fucked her in the ass, and come morning, you got to go to church. And visit Sevums in draggle, cause what happens sick by 'em could see of rattles in tongue. And lift us you make bid, and covered to us what track I commits it, each fix could bread bear. And so this gives a little more meaning to that last line. I read it in a couple movies, and I put all of them in this folder. But where it's talking about this word they left out, because it reads backwards, in all a tomb in from what yards. All the churches all have a graveyard in back. And as it young, this is what they do at the church. He's still talking about the preacher. And as it young, all have you the work entice. Entice the young people to do the work, and the altar boys. And I will cause you to ride, the work entice. And all a tomb from what yards, and letting you know it's the church. And the acolytician held, that's the guy who's holding your communion. He's holding your bread and feed you with the heritage, the body of Christ. And the acolytician held the joke in of a kick, a KKI reads a KIK, a kick and a double I, the first one reads the A. And so that's how I know that this is all the same as the Egyptian. That's where I learned that. And the kick pay who head of her, who's in front is getting kicked, to prod them in the ass, to goad them, to god them. And I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.